Hello everyone. Can you hear me? Yes. Bonjour tout le monde. Sorry about that, but we are coming from Paris, and Alan is coming from London, and you will have to support our French accent during the next hour. What we'll try to do today is to share with you Air Liquide story, which is a story, not only a technical story, but Alan will dive on the technical part. It is as well how we were able to enable the change on the client perspective and make sure and make this cloud technical solution a reality for the business. Okay, what is Air Liquide? What is Air Liquide? Is a gas company located in 82 countries across the world, and they are a leader on the cars, health, as well as a medicine company. What is the subject? Air Liquide has launched an intensive program in order to reduce operation cost, deploy smart security, but last and not least, provide more agility, reactivity, and to the business. What we have done for this program, the objective was to reduce the OPEX by 6.7 million euros, to provide smart security and to be much more customer-centric. And what we have achieved during the past 12 months is to set up, to reduce the operating the OPEX within 3 months by changing the sourcing model, to set up the cloud solution, and we spent 4 months to set up the x86 cloud solution, and 2 additional months to set up the Unix cloud solution, 10 months to migrate 1,800 servers to the cloud, and 6 months to set up a portal, which is the end-user portal, allowing the end-user to manage the cloud solution. When we are saying manage the cloud solution, we are talking about manage the technical part, manage the billing part, and as well as monitor the performance, as well as the budget. I will leave the floor to Cedric.
Okay, good afternoon. First of all, I'm in Accenture. I'm leading the cloud part for France, Belgium, and Luxembourg, and I'm pretty involved in this kind of project. So based on what we had said just before, the main objective of the transformation is to change the legacy. It's to change all the part of the legacy, the technical part, but the operational part and the organization part. So this slide is sum up all what we did in the first 6 months of the beginning of the contract. We start from the legacy, we set up, thank you. We just set up a first private cloud running under FlexPod and vCloud, and we set up the Unix Converge platform, and we work very closely with Amazon to set up all the public cloud part. When I said we work very closely with Amazon, I mean that we don't take Amazon as just a cloud provider. We just take Amazon to be a copy of the Air Liquide data center we have, and especially we divided all the Amazon network in the same zone and same security and network zone as we have in the data center of Air Liquide. So this is the first part of the job, and second part of the job, is to put in place our broker on top of the infrastructure. Our broker is named Accenture Cloud Platform, and the main objective of this broker is to manage both the private cloud and the public cloud with the same service catalog, with the same ACD, and with the same billing and metering as well. So what you have on the slide is first of all, hold the approach of the transformation on the technical part. And on the back of the slide, you have all the service associated to the cloud. When we do the transformation of the operating model, we just estimate that we cannot do a classical outsourcing stuff. So we change our model, our outsourcing model, to move to a cloud outsourcing model. It means that the client does not want to do a classical outsourcing. It means that the client does not want to have all the servers managed by Accenture. It does not want to have all the stack of the managed services. And it just prefers to have to keep his own decision on his side. It means that, for example, we have, for the Unix part, we have a fully managed services. It means that from the data center to the application, we manage all the services. But for the public and the private cloud, we implement a couple of services which are fresh, for example, there is no services, there's only live monitoring. And we just increase the stack function of the client needs and function of the business unit needs. So that's the transformation approach we define for Air Liquide and we implement in 6 months. The main scope at the beginning was the western of Europe, so France, Germany, and that's it. And we are still working with Air Liquide to extend the scope and to work on the US part and South Africa and APAC, but based on the same model. Just the last point, the figure you have between the operations and between the infrastructure is what we plan to move in the public and private and Unix platform at the beginning of the project. At this stage, 1 year after, we are very closely from this figure. We are around 20% in the public cloud on Amazon, and we are roughly around 50% on private cloud. But there is a real adoption of the public from the client and from the business unit. That's quite interesting about that. We are not very far from these numbers. So, as I said, the operating model transformation, we spoke about the technical transformation. We change all the organization of Air Liquide. We change together because we work very closely with the client to move from his existing organization to a new cloud organization. What we define is a new operating model. We define also a self-service offering based on the new services we define with the client. As I said before, we define a couple of services which manage all the platform. For example, all the clients can choose if they want to have full managed services or only fresh environment or something like that. They can do what they want based on the portal. The third part is the change management. This is already a hard stuff about change because the IT and the client of the IT was not really ready to move from a legacy to a cloud organization. So we define very small step to help the clients to move to a cloud, to be cloud ready. It means that, for example, there is no account manager when we start the project. Now there are 10 or 15 account managers which are in charge to sell all the IT services to the business unit of Air Liquide. So that's the main part of the change. I don't know if you want to add something about that, but
a couple of words about that. What we said at the early stage is that it's a really client-centric project where the objective was really to make sure that the end user and the business user had the opportunity to choose his solution based on his expected service level, based as well on his budget, and based as well on the level of security that he needs for his application. And we are bringing the responsibility to the end user and is able to provision the IT services without any involvement of the IT department. IT department will check if everything is compliant, but today the business is able to provision any IT services without any involvement of the business, which is the most important part of this project. What we consider in our Liquide case is that even if the technical solution is very complex, that's not the main driver of this program. Main driver is really to make it easy for the end user to select select the solution and to manage his budget and to manage the performance of the infrastructure. Tomorrow we will be able to change the private cloud, which is a FlexPod solution, to another solution, and the end user will not going to take care about that. It's not important for him. And this is what we try to do on this program.
Maybe a couple of things around the self-service portal. Alan, if you can help me, because you are better than me like that. So as I said, the self-service portal is mainly driven by our broker, which is Accenture Cloud Platform, who managing the Amazon stuff and the private cloud. But what we can say before a few words of Alan, what we can say is we have put in place a common billing between the private and the public cloud, a common metering solutions, and a common change request and global request to manage to have a single point of access for our client. And we duplicate this model for a lot of services. So this is the main thing that I want to add on the self-service portal. Alan, you want something?
Yeah, I can add. So I think you've heard already that one of the main objectives was to empower the end business users to be responsible for what they chose in terms of IT solution. And it's not just provisioning infrastructure and then loading applications, it goes beyond that. So one of the key components was first to introduce some kind of governance framework. How do I make sure they're following all my security policies and good practices I've got in the data center? So they spent most of what you see here is the kind of the eye candy, the visual side, but there's a lot of governance and structure that's built into how they actually start to provision, such as to make sure that they follow the right images. So they'll take, for example, an Amazon AMI, harden it, and then publish it to the user community. So they're always following and always using the standards that they actually want the users to use. Because if you think about it, the actual users of Amazon are a non-technical audience. So the second part is that they also had to have an interface that made sense to them. So the interface was very much simplified. So they had t-shirt sizes for servers, so it's like small, medium, and large. That way they could also then publish their own internal rate card to do with that. So the users knew what their costs were before they provisioned servers. They also had a simplified menu in terms of the choice of servers, because if you recall, the Amazon setup was like maybe 20, 25 instant types, and they wanted to simplify that. They also wanted that simplification to be across both public and private, so there was no confusion, and there was a rate card for both. And then also the ability to, I suggested, start to wrap services around it. So do I want my servers managed? Do I want them unmanaged? What level of service do I want? Can I turn them on and off and do whatever? In addition to that, one of the key things that they also wanted was the ability to provide good, intelligent information to their users so they could make key decisions about, should I schedule the service to be powered off for the weekend? Or if my dev and test is only being used for certain times, I can power them off regular as well. But also if I start off on a large server and then suddenly realize that I'm not using its full capacity, I can start to take it down a level or two and see how that performs. And using charts and performance metrics starts to give them an idea of how they can manage things as well. And don't forget, this is all presented not to the IT department, but the actual business users. And it's made really simple. There's a lot of complexity around it, but it's presented in a simple way that they can just make choices. And I think that if you are going to go this way, you do need that kind of governance layer that enables you to take it to the next level and do IT as a service. Question?
Yeah, I have a question. So in terms of educating the end user
that's really a central point of the subject, you know, because we can build whatever solution that we want if we need to make it concrete at the end and to make sure that the end user will use that. What we have done is to really to involve a wide spread of skills from Accenture, not only technical skills, but we use some people from change management and from communication in order to build the service catalog, to build a maquette of service catalog, to build an offering, to revisit the organization of Air Liquide in order to be much more client-centric, to go and communicate about the business in two ways. First, providing the benefit of the new solution, and second, we had as well a management layer which had some strong position about the cost savings of the IT. This doesn't mean in some way they didn't have choice on the bottom line. You know, they had to commit on savings, and in order to do that, they had to move to the new solution. That has been in really two ways. Provide the benefits of the new solution, and as well as have a strong commitment on the budget, on the service catalog price, and at the same time have some very powerful communication from Air Liquide leadership in order to make sure that the people understand what are the aims of the program and to be committed all of us together on the same results. One example, we said that we were talking about 30% of savings on the operation cost. That's not like we put something on the paper at the early stage of the program. We are following that on the monthly basis with Air Liquide. And that's very, very detailed, very sharp follow-up of that we have. And today we can say that we did overachieve these benefits together, as Accenture is committed with Air Liquide on this achievement. This is not like we decide something and we sold something which is beautiful to share with the leadership. That has been a very, very strong commitment on this program. And we are following that very deeply.
I don't know in US, but in France and in Western of Europe, it's the first kind of project which has been set up like that. This is the first project where we shared business case. This is the first project with a real hybrid environment for production environment. This is not for test and dev. This is only for production environment. We have a couple of SAP environment running under Amazon, under the private cloud. We have a couple of production applications running under the public cloud. So 1 year ago, it was the first project in France running like that with this kind of model. Yeah.
Like this, the CTO of Air Liquide was more or less a corporate CTO. Initially, he didn't have a strong ownership on the delivery of the infrastructure. And this new CTO joined Air Liquide at least 3 years back. And he had very, very strong objectives, really to transform the infrastructure and to make sure that he will be ahead of the market. He was a visionary, and he did fight strongly in order to get his program internally. At the early stage, that has been a very, very long discussion. Nobody did trust him. And he worked very hard internally in order to be able to launch this program, which is a very ambitious program compared to what we have on the market for big companies, what we call CAC 40 in France, which are the 40 biggest companies that we have in France. And this has been his program. We did help him to shape this program, but this has been really his program.
So 3 years?
Yeah, he spent more than 2 years to sell the program internally.
So, okay, got it.
C'est pour toi, sûr.
Okay. Let's talk about service delivery. That's, I would say, very classical service delivery solution for Accenture. We did define an internal service catalog in front of the IT department of Air Liquide, where we are covering services from Spain and India. Very limited people, I would say 5% of the people are located in Paris on my team, and the other are located in India and Spain. That has been a big change for Air Liquide as well, as the incumbent provider was mainly located in France. But that has been a very, very strong performance, as day one, the client did consider that the service was better than today, and we did set up some very strong KPI in order to follow the service quality. As you can imagine, when we are launching transformation like this, the business users are really concerned about the fact that they will not going to have a disruptive solution at the end, and they were very concerned about the fact that the service will at least stay at the same level. But what we did identify today is that the service is much better in terms of reactivity of the operation people, but as well as in terms of performance of the infrastructure solution. And this is really a great achievement today. As an example, Air Liquide was managing more or less 30% of the incident, what we call the layer 3 of Air Liquide. Was managing 30% of the incident before, and 3 months after the go live, Accenture was managing 95% of the incident. Just because we did set up a very strong solution, and we had pretty robust operating model. Other things are really classical. I don't know if you have any question about the delivery model. Otherwise, we can move on to the next slide.
This is the last one. I guess there is a couple of problems with the deck, because that was not the deck uploaded on the Amazon's website. But anyway, okay, that's, if you have any questions, yes?
The remote services that Accenture is offering, are they doing just the Amazon piece, or are they also helping out with the private cloud and local on-premise assets?
They are covering everything. Everything. The aim as well of the program, as you can imagine, we were talking about 30% of cost savings. And one of the main drivers of this cost saving is to allow Air Liquide employees to not spend any more time on the operations, changes or monitoring on troubleshooting. They are spending all of their time on the project, new architecture, thinking about the target solution. And Accenture people are managing the operation for all of the entire world. And as we said today, the other driver of the cost saving is really to optimize the usage of the assets. And this is, and Amazon is one of the levers, as a lot of applications are only used during business hours. And as you can imagine, when we are moving from the CapEx model to an OpEx model, that has been a very huge driver on cost savings. And the other layer is that the infrastructure team used to add some fixed internal cost, and they did move from fixed internal cost to pay-per-drink model, where in some cases the business is only looking about infrastructure as a service, no operation on top of that. And today they are able to subscribe to this type of service.
So, assuming you have intellectual property on Amazon and the public cloud,
Yeah.
how tough a sell was that, and how did you sell that to the security team, the legal team?
Okay.
The security.
Yeah, and that's one of the components of the solution is what we call the decision tree. How to select public cloud versus private cloud. And as we said at the early stage, we had a smart security program in parallel, where rather than following the business, trying to follow the business, security team try to anticipate the business needs. And what we did with them for that is really to define the security rule, security policing between private and public cloud. And as Alan said, we did replicate the security rule that we have on the Air Liquide premises to the Amazon public cloud. Saying that, one of the criteria of the decision tree to move to the public or to the private cloud is really some security rules. This does mean that all of the applications are not eligible to go to the public cloud today.
You have the,
And
you
that's not the business decision. That's the decision tree who will do that.
yeah.
Yeah?
You talked about a little bit of the benefits and, 30% savings. Can you just detail like the benefits for Air Liquide to go to the cloud, to go from legacy to the cloud? Like where are the savings specifically and
Okay.
any types of benefits, like
Yeah.
business-wise?
First, which is day one, they had lab arbitrage, as they used to have some local people delivering the service, and now we have some people, more than 90% of the people are offshore from India or Spain. That has been the first level. Second level is a better usage of the assets. First, we have some vertical solution on private cloud, like FlexPod, and we are using Amazon. This does mean that we moved from 40% of asset usage to more than 70% today. Third, we did improve the level of services of the operation people, layer 1 and layer 2. As I said, initially the Air Liquide was managing more or less 30% of the operation activity. Now they are managing less than 5% of the operation activity. Okay, that has been as well a lever. This is what we call service excellence lever. We are much better on the operations. Last but not least, we did move all of the legacy assets to the cloud. This does mean that we were able to decommission the legacy asset. The Air Liquide didn't have to invest on a refresh on a lot of infrastructure, and that has been considered as well on the business case. And one which is as well important is that Air Liquide is located in Paris La Défense, and the seat charge that we have there are very high. And we did remove close to 80 or 100 seat charge. Seat charge. People who are sitting in the office with laptops and so on in a very expensive zone in Paris. And now today they are in India. They save some money with that.
How long did the contracting take for to develop the scope?
The RFP have been launched in December, as far as I remember.
Yeah.
And we finalized the Air Liquide finalized the decision in July.
14, July 14.
December 13, and we finalized the decision in July 14, which is pretty good, I would say, time frame, as usually a contract like that is taking 9 months at least.
So it only took
7 months.
10 months.
From December to July.
July, okay.
Can you talk about other cloud providers you would have considered and why you chose AWS?
Sorry, I didn't catch the question.
Can you talk about other cloud providers that you would potentially consider and why you chose AWS?
Maybe this is for you, Cedric.
The question was, do we versus
the others.
To be honest, when we start the project, AWS was pretty mature on the marketplace. When we compare to Azure or other cloud provider or local French cloud provider, we do not have the same level of maturity in terms of services, servers, resources, and market space. So the main reason why we just, to be honest, I think that we spent around 5 minutes by choosing AWS versus the others. But now I think that at least in 2014 in France, Asia was not ready. And to be honest, Amazon was very close from our team to help us to design the Amazon Air Liquide data center, as we call. So that's very powerful. They have very good pre-sales team, very technical pre-sales teams that Microsoft doesn't have.
Honestly, at the end of the game, despite the fact that the Air Liquide did contract directly with Amazon, that has been Accenture's choice. This does mean that the client was looking for commitment in terms of price and for commitment in terms of solution performance. And afterwards, it was up to us to propose the best solution according to that.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that they didn't challenge us, but it has been our decision.
Yes.
And you might have already mentioned this, but you mentioned you had an IT provider providing services, or you had IT people on staff, on payroll, managing your internal infrastructure.
This was not us before.
Oh, okay.
This was one of the competitors, and they did select, as usual, you know, they spent 7 years with the same provider. They were pretty happy about the service, but they didn't see any innovation. And the incumbent was competing against us on the short list. This is definitely not Accenture model to have onshore people delivering the service.
Can you speak about the technical, are you allowed to speak about the solution in general, the self-service portal?
Yes.
Can you expand on that? And
Which topic you want to have?
just curious to see what technologies are used
Behind the portal or behind all the solutions?
behind the portal.
Behind the portal.
Yeah, I can take that.
I think so.
So you're right, to try and provide a full, rich service, there's going to be, well, I think there's about 18 products behind it that have been kind of glued together to give you that full service. An example is, you know, the analytics tool that we use, and then there's a billing tool that collects data from Amazon and slices and dices it nicely. There's a nice service catalog that's front-end in it. The back end is that talks to Amazon and executes against the REST API. That's another product. Then there's Chef in the background to help do the deployment, harden the servers and actually execute the config management. And then you've got the backup tools and monitoring tools and antivirus. So there's a whole host of things, of products behind it. But I think that, if maybe suggest one thing in that, as part of the journey, and I think in initial stages, I don't think the client was quite ready for this. As part of the journey, you've got to change your mindset from being just IT people providing IT tools and move into more of a services kind of view. And it took a little while for us to bring Liquide on that journey in terms of what exactly is the service I want to provide, because it's not a server at the end of the day. It's a wider piece, which is why other elements come in, such as the billing analytics, to be able to analyze performance costs and things like that, have an estimator, have a rate card. What am I actually offering as a service to the business? And then I think this slide's quite good, actually, because you can see here all the different service elements that include whether they have disaster recovery or not, or whether they have security and network, whether it's managed or not. They define the service catalog up front and then implemented it within the portal to do that.
One important thing on that is that the Accenture solution is a solution to manage a cloud portal, but it is as well a cloud solution. This solution is shared across several clients. We are talking about 800 projects today.
Yeah, about 23,000 servers, 800 projects. It lives in Amazon itself. So it's something that you kind of decide as part of this journey whether you embark on You know, how do I fix the governance? How do I enable a self-service portal? And how do I transform myself into a service organization? And these are the considerations you do. For Liquide, we proposed our solution because it accelerated their deployment, and they were keen to empower the users quickly. They didn't want to wait 4 years to build their own. So they made the decision to choose it. But I guess that's the decision you know most organizers are trying to work out now. How do I enable a self-service portal to enable and apply the governance to when I use public cloud?
And you should understand as well is that this solution is designed to manage a hybrid solution. For example, in some cases, Accenture is providing the monitoring ITSM tool, and that's a part of the reporting that we have on the solution. And in some other cases, the client is looking to have his own tool and his own asset, and we should integrate that with the solution. And the solution should be flexible in order to allow both scenarios. Question?
Yeah, just talking about the solution. So, if I may ask, how did you slice and dice what actually is on your private cloud and what is on AWS?
So I think, Riyadh alluded to it earlier. There was a decision tree about what's appropriate. You know, so your first step is to decide, you know, is that critical applications or critical criteria, often denoted by the security team, that yes, we're acceptable to be in the public cloud, or we're definitely not, and therefore private cloud. So that kind of made your first choice. Then it made sense to actually review applications. Typically, you look at your applications one by one and make some decisions about, are they suitable for the public cloud, or are they suitable for private cloud? And you kind of start going down the list, make some key decisions about them, and then do the migration.
Yeah, what I was alluding to is, like, what are the key criteria that you guys looked at?
I would say 4. We are talking first about the service level. And what we consider on the Liquide case is that we have a much better control on the service level on the private cloud than the public. If we are looking for very high service level, high availability in 24/7, that's sometimes better to be on the private than on public. We have some regulatory constraints. We are talking about healthcare application in a Liquide context, where we have a lot of reporting constraints and as well as traceability constraints. And in some cases, we need to know where we are hosting the application, how it is managed, and so on. And we are not allowed to host the application whatever where we want. We are talking about sometimes security constraints. And last but not least is the cost. And cost is not obvious. When we are looking for 8/7 only business hour, that's obvious to go to the public cloud. But when we are looking for high level of service and 24/7 application, we should see what will be the bottom line of the cost, and that's not obvious.
Yeah, another point which is quite important to take care about. This is the traffic between the public and the private cloud. When you put an application on the public cloud, you have huge dependencies with other applications. You generate a lot of traffic, so you pay for that. And when you do the business case, what is quite important is to measure first the cost in the public plus the bandwidth. So this is the last point I will add. Say, take care of the traffic. Do a real map of your applications. Do a real map of your dependencies. This is quite huge. Something which is linked is how the backup mechanism. In this case, how the backup infrastructure are located in the Air Liquide data center. You may have a couple of snapshots on Amazon, but not a real backup. You want to have a real backup strategy, and you need to have in your data center, it will generate traffic. But it depends on the case. But keep in mind that traffic and backup could not give a very positive business case for public. Just something back to your previous creation. We set up a migration factory for moving legacy application to the cloud, but also for moving public to private, private to public, depending on the business needs. So we have very standard process and very standard move. We are not only clicking on the button to move a workload. We are just taking care about the application behavior in the public and the private cloud through our migration factory. We assess the application and we deliver the application as well.
We don't talk about that, but that's an important point, you know. Building a cloud solution and waiting for the new application to move to this cloud solution is not relevant for the business. And what we consider at Accenture level is that having a cloud solution without having a strong program and smooth program to move the legacy to the cloud, that's a mandatory point for the key success factor of the program. You know. We have seen a lot of clients just building a cloud, private or public, and this cloud is more or less empty. This is really a key driver in order to make the story a success story at the end. And the other question? It could be technical question.
So did the client, you already have a good structured ITSM model, or did Accenture come in and revamp that as well as part of the operating model? How did you go about that?
Okay. For I would say the processes, if it is your point, processes and tools?
Yes.
Okay. For the processes, Air Liquide did launch in parallel processes harmonization. This is a part of the transformation journey that we did talked about. This is here. Okay. When we are talking about change management, one part of the change management is really redefining the processes. As an example, we had Air Liquide organization defined by technology tower initially. We moved from a technology tower model to service catalog model where we have 4 offerings more or less on the service catalog, and the Air Liquide organization moved to this 4 offerings, and we had to redesign the processes in order to align everything together. Today we have ServiceNow as an ITSM solution, which is integrated with the Accenture portal in order to get the performance report of the solution.
Follow on to that question. And the question is about help desk services, client communication. Since you mentioned everything is being delivered from India, how are your users handling? How are you handling that? It's a big cultural change going from a regional provider to offshore provider, and how are you managing that?
Okay. On the overall Air Liquide service catalog, we have 3 main entries. One is a digital workplace. One is a network services, and one is a data center services, which is more the cloud. What Accenture cares about is the data center piece. We are managing the full data center piece. Digital workplace, within the digital workplace stream, we have the service desk. And honestly, this program is a bit behind what we have done than what we have done in the data center. This program is more complex than in terms of choosing the right business partner for that and so on is a bit complex as it's a global program. It has been launched a couple of months ago by Air Liquide, and the objective is to find the right solution. Because today I'm not seeing any real business partner which is a global for service desk. A lot of business partners are providing global solutions, but this is more or less solutions which are outsourced to very strong regional business partners, and that's not really working like that. But this program is under progress, and this is not managed by Accenture. And maybe to answer a bit to your question, what we said on the operation level is that we did bring a lot of productivity in order to reduce the operation cost. But in order to do that, what we are doing is really to have some very strong factory managing the incident and changes in very factory mode. With some shared people and dedicated people, but we have a layer, which what we call service integration services, which is dedicated to the client in order to manage the bridge, the interaction between the client and our factory. And this is how it works. That's answering to a part of your question, not to all of the question, but this is how we can have a team which is very productive because it is shared across a lot of projects. As you can imagine, there is a lot of skills needed, and if you have 24/7 services, we need to share people. But we have a layer which is dedicated to the client and which is making the bridge between our factory and the client team. Any other question? Maybe to summarize the result, because we talked about objective initially. Today we said that we need 12 months to migrate everything, the 1800 server from the legacy system to the cloud. It took less than 10 months, as we did start in February, and then we will complete that this month.
Not only in the cloud, but in the Unix platform as well.
Yeah. We said that we were expecting to have 30% of savings between now and 2016. Today we did overachieve the savings. Every milestone of the plan has been respected. And one of the most concern initially of the client was application migration, as it is not only a technical subject, we had to involve the business as well as the application teams. And this is a subject that has been handled by Accenture.
Yeah.
And today that's a successful part.
Yeah, we just finished the step one.
Yeah. And tomorrow we did start the discussion to deploy the same solution to US, Middle East and Africa. And the next step will be to deploy that to APAC.
Thank you.
If there is no question, thank you.